The air in the Federation Council chamber was cool and smelled of ozone. Alien delegates sat in a wide circle. Their forms were strange, some with shimmering skin, others with multiple eyes. They spoke in soft, calm voices. The main screen showed a map of the galaxy. A creeping red stain represented the Cathar swarm. It was eating its way through the stars. Leo Croft stood at the human delegation's post. He was a solid man, with a tired face. His hands were clenched behind his back. He had been silent for hours, listening. The debate was about a world called Viridia, a human world. 20 million people lived there. The Tarkellan delegate, a being of sharp, crystal-like angles, gestured with a delicate hand. The loss of Viridia is regrettable, its voice chimed. But it is a necessary sacrifice. Our strategy of attrition requires these adjustments. We preserve our core systems. We slow the swarm. Another alien, a bulky creature with gray skin, grunted in agreement. The Cathar will expend resources pacifying Viridia. This gives us time to fortify the Tarkellan border. It is logical. Leo's jaw tightened. He finally stepped forward. The floor lit up under his boots. Viridia is not a delay tactic, he said, his voice low but clear. It is our home. Our fleet in that sector is ready. They have a plan. We can hold. He tapped a control on his wrist. A new data stream flowed to the main screen, showed a complex tactical display. It highlighted a potential flaw in the Cathar swarm pattern, a point of convergence, a weakness. We do not need to run, Leo said. We can fight.
Right here.
The Tarkellan made a sound. It was a light, tinkling noise. A laugh. It echoed in the vast chamber. Fight, the Tarkellan said. With what? Your emotional crews? Your simple ships? You see a battle. We see a grand strategy. You are children playing with fire. A wave of similar sounds came from other delegates. Soft clicks and hums of amusement. They were not laughing at the idea. They were laughing at him. It's all of humanity. They saw his people as nothing more than a speed bump. A loud, messy shield for their own perfect worlds. Leo did not shout. He did not argue. He looked at the Tarkellan. He looked at the gray-skinned delegate. He looked at every one of them who was laughing. His face was a stone. The heat of anger drained away, leaving something cold and hard behind. He turned. He walked away from the podium. His second-in-command, a woman named Eva, fell in beside him without a word. Then the rest of his team, their footsteps were the only sound. They moved through the grand doors and into the corridor outside. The laughter stopped. The chamber was silent. The aliens watched the humans leave. They seemed confused. They thought it was a protest, a show of temper. They would wait for the humans to come back, ashamed. On the bridge of his ship, the steady Leo sat in his command chair. The starfield filled the main viewer. He opened a channel. It was a tight, encrypted laser beam aimed at a point light years away. At Earth, he spoke 4 words into the quiet. His voice was flat and final. They are all acceptable losses. He closed the channel. Across known space, on thousands of ships and stations, a single order was executed. Transponder signals winked out. Communication channels went dead. The entire human presence in Federation space vanished from the galactic network. It became a ghost. On the bridge, a junior officer turned from his screen, his face pale. Sir, long-range scan. The Cathar swarm is changing course. Leo did not turn. Port the new heading. The officer swallowed. It's heading directly for the Tarkellan home system. They've abandoned Viridia completely. The Tarkellan homeworld, a planet of glittering crystal spires, was in chaos. The sky, once a calm blue, was now a dirty orange, streaked with the fire of falling ships. The Cathar swarm was here. It had moved faster than anyone predicted. On the bridge of the Federation flagship, the mood was one of panic. The Admiral, a tall being with smooth blue skin, shouted orders. Form a defensive line. Protect the planetary shields. But the Cathar did not fight like the Federation. They did not form neat lines. They were a storm of jagged insect-like ships. They crashed into the Federation formation without any pattern. They ripped ships apart with claws of metal and energy. A Tarkellan sensor officer named Kale watched his screen. His hands trembled. The main display showed the swarm breaking through their outer defenses. It was like watching a wave hit a sandcastle. The Federation ships were elegant and powerful, but they were slow. They were built for a different kind of war. "The shield generator is failing," someone yelled. "They are targeting the capital city." Kale looked up at the main viewer. The largest Catho ship, a monstrous thing shaped like a twisted root, moved into position. Its forward weapons glowed with a sickly green light. It was preparing to fire. To burn his city, his family, from the sky, he could do nothing. It was just a pair of eyes, watching the end. Then something changed. A new contact appeared on the very edge of the sensor range. It was moving at an impossible speed. It was a blur. It did not show up as a friendly signal. It showed up as nothing. A ghost. Before anyone could speak, the blur resolved into a ship. It was like no ship Kale had ever seen. It was all sharp angles and black metal. It had no smooth curves. It looked brutal. It had massive, blocky railguns bolted to its hull. It did not hail the Cathar ship. It did not identify itself. It simply opened fire. The sound of the railguns was a physical shock through the flagship's hull. Thump, thump. Huge slugs of metal tore into the side of the Cathar battleship. Chunks of its armor flew off into the void. The Cathar ship turned, its weapons shifting from the planet to this new threat. The black ship did not try to evade. It flew straight at the enemy. It accelerated. Its engines glowed a fierce, hot white. "It is going to ram," Kale whispered. The black ship slammed into the Cathar vessel. The sound was a terrible crunch of metal. Its own hull buckled and tore. But the impact created a hole, a weak point. From inside that hole, the black ship fired its railguns one last time, point-blank shot into the heart of the enemy. The Cathar battleship exploded from the inside. A ball of green fire swallowed it whole. The black ship was gone, vaporized in the blast. Then more of them came. Dozens of the black, angular ships dropped out of stealth from behind nearby moons and asteroids. They fell upon the Cathar swarm. They fought in silence. No communication, no cries of battle, just the relentless thump of their guns and the bright flash of explosions. They fought with a fury that was terrifying. They used their own ships as weapons, ramming when their guns were empty. They did not seem to care if they lived or died. The battle turned. Cathar swarm, confused and attacked from within, began to break apart. When it was over, the crystal spires of the city were safe. The sky began to clear. But no one cheered on the flagship. The bridge was utterly silent. Kale scanned the debris field. He looked for life signs, for any signal from the black ships. He found nothing. There's no escape pods, no distress beacons. There's no wreckage large enough to hold a survivor. Every single one of the silent, brutal ships was gone. They had fought to the last ship, to the last round, to save the people who had laughed at them. Kale stared at his screen, a cold dread settling in his stomach. He understood now. This was not a rescue. This was a message. And if these savage, silent ships were the ones they sent to die, it meant only one thing. The humans were saving their best for something else. The air inside the derelict station was cold and smelled of rust and something worse. Kara moved down a dark corridor, her boots sticking to the grimy floor. Her rifle was a solid weight in her hands. Red emergency lights cast long shadows. Her squad moved behind her, their breathing loud in their helmets. They were all humans from the Silent Fleet. They had come to this captured Federation research outpost to retrieve something. The official order was data. The real mission was different. They found the first body halfway down the hall. It was a Tarkellan, its crystal skin shattered. Then they found others, different species, all torn apart. A voice crackled in Kara's ear. It was the Federation liaison, a nervous man named Elshin, watching from their ship nearby. "Your life sign scan is picking up survivors ahead." "In the main lab." "Understood," Kara said, her voice flat. They kicked in the lab doors. The sight inside made one of her men turn away and vomit. Cathar had been experimenting. Alien bodies, some still alive until recently, were strapped to tables. Wires and tubes ran into them. Strange organs floated in jars. The walls were stained. In the corner was a smaller table. A human was strapped to it. Kara's breath caught. She moved closer, her squad fanning out to secure the room. The man on the table was young. His uniform was torn. His eyes were open, staring at the ceiling. His chest was a mess of surgical cuts. One of his hands was gone. Kara knew him. His name was Ben. He was from her hometown. He had been a cook on a supply ship. He was captured on Viridia. She reached out a gloved hand and touched his cold face. Her whole body went rigid. The professional calm she always wore shattered like glass. A sound started low in her throat. It was a raw animal noise of pain. It grew into a scream of pure rage and loss that echoed off the metal walls. She spun around, raising her rifle. She fired at the dead Cathar. Scientists slumped over a console. The bullets tore into its chitinous body. She kept firing until the magazine was empty. The noise was deafening. Her squad mates grabbed her, pulling her back. Kara, stop. It's gone. It's over. She struggled against them, sobbing now, great heaving sobs that shook her armor. All the months of silence, of cold fighting, of holding everything in, broke out of her at once. The Federation prisoners they had just rescued huddled by the door, watching in horror. They saw the monster of the Silent Fleet not as a soldier, but as a grieving woman. They finally understood the depth of the wound. One of her squad, a man named Ray, held her shoulders. Kara, look at me, breathe. She finally stilled, her body trembling. She looked at the terrified faces of the aliens they had saved. She saw their fear of her. She saw their pity. Ray helped her to her feet. The moment was over. The mask was back, but it was cracked. Elshin's voice came back over the cum, hesitant. Kara, we are getting a new deep space scan. The long-range scouts. They have found it. Kara wiped her face with the back of her glove. Found what? Source, Elshin said, his voice tight with a new kind of fear. They found the Cathar homeworld. He paused, and the silence on the channel was heavy. The entire Silent Fleet is already on its way there. The command deck of the lead human ship was quiet. The only light came from the main screen, which showed a single, ugly planet. It was the Cathar homeworld, got a dark, swirling ball of storms and rock. Leo Croft stood before his crew. They were all that was left. Their faces were hard and tired. They had lost so many. Friends, family. Now they were here at the end. Leo did not give a grand speech. He spoke in a low, clear voice. Every word was a stone dropped in still water. The Federation lied to us, he began. He tapped a control. Data streamed across screens. Old Federation reports. Secret communications. They knew about this place from the start. They knew the Cathar have one mind. A single ancient brain that controls them all. They call it the Overmind. It is here. He pointed at the planet on the screen. A murmur went through the crew. They had fought and died for every inch. They had watched worlds burn. And the Federation knew the key to ending it all along. Their plan was simple, Leo continued, his voice growing colder. They would let the Cathar swarm weaken us. They would let the lesser species like ours be eaten. They would sacrifice billions of our people. Then, when we were broken and the swarm was tired, they would fly in. They would destroy the Overmind. They would be the heroes. They would claim all the territory that was left. The truth was a physical blow. The war was not a fight for survival. It was a political game. Their lives were just pieces on a board. The betrayal was so deep it felt like a hole in the chest. Leo's face was like carved stone, so we will finish it. But not for them. A new schematic replaced the data on the screens. It was not a battle plan. It was a demolition plan. It showed their own ships, diving into the planet's crust. It showed their engines overloading. It showed their antimatter cores detonating in a precise chain reaction pattern. We are not here to win a battle, Leo said. We're here to dig a grave. Our ships are the shovels. Our lives are the price. We will crack their world open and burn the brain inside. The command deck was utterly silent. They all understood. There was no going home. This was a one-way trip for every last one of them. No one objected. No one looked away. They simply nodded. They had known this day would come. An alarm blared. A new ship warped into the edge of the system. It was a Federation battleship, its hull shining and clean. A familiar face appeared on the communication screen. It was the Tarkellan delegate who had laughed at Leo in the council chamber. The Tarkellan's crystal face was twisted with panic. Leo Croft, please, we surrender. The Federation Council surrenders to you. We will give you anything. Just stop this madness. Join us. Help us. The crew looked at their leader, the man who had led them into silence, the man who had carried this terrible secret. Leo looked at the pleading face on the screen. He did not look triumphant. He did not look angry. For the first time in years, he smiled. It was a small, cold, and terrible smile. He reached out and closed the communication channel.
Oh.
The Tarkellan's frantic face vanished. He turned back to his crew. His voice was calm and final. Begin the attack run. The silent fleet flew towards the dark planet. They did not fire their weapons. They did not try to dodge the enemy fire. They flew straight into the storm of Cathar ships waiting for them. It was not a battle. It was a suicide march. The first human ship, a heavy cruiser named Defiant Asterisk, took a dozen direct hits. Its forward hull glowed red, then white. It did not slow down. It flew directly into the largest Cathar vessel and detonated its core. The explosion tore a hole in the enemy line. Another ship, a frigate called Echo had its engines torn off. It was dead in space. The crew triggered the self-destruct, turning their ship into a massive bomb that cleared a path for the ships behind them. One by one, they sacrificed themselves. They were hammers smashing against a wall. They broke it down by breaking themselves. Leo's ship, the Oath of Viridia was the spear tip. It flew through the chaos, its shields failing. Alerts flashed red across the bridge. A fire burned in one corridor. The air smelled of smoke and ozone. Leo sat in his command chair, strapped in. His crew was silent around him, each at their post. They watched the planet grow larger on the main screen. Impact in 60 seconds, a woman said. Her voice was steady. The Oath of Viridia smashed through the planet's atmosphere. The ship shook violently. Metal screamed. The outside cameras showed a sky of fire and black rock. Leo opened a channel. It was not a broadcast. It was a tight beam, aimed at the few human colony ships that had fled into the dark at the war's start. Their last hope. He did not speak of war or revenge. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. The galaxy is yours, he said. Remember the price. Live. The connection ended. The planet's surface rushed up to meet them. It was a jagged, broken landscape. The Oath of Viridia hit the ground. The impact was silent in the void of space. But on the Federation battleship watching from a distance, they saw the light. A bright, white pinprick on the planet's surface. Then another. And another. A chain of suns being born and dying in an instant. The light spread. Cracks of fire raced across the entire planet. The world began to come apart. It broke into large pieces, each one glowing from the inside. The Cathar homeworld was dying. At that same moment, across the galaxy, something strange happened. On 100 battlefronts, the Cathar ships stopped moving. Their weapons went dark. They drifted, silent and dead. The hive mind was gone. The war was over. On the bridge of the Tarkellan ship, there was no cheering. The crew stared at the screen. They watched the shattered, glowing pieces of the planet drift apart. They saw the graveyard of human ships that had made it happen. They had won. They were safe. But the silence on the bridge was heavier than any sound. They had been saved by a people they had betrayed. They had been shown a kind of courage they could not understand. Courage that asked for no thanks and left no one to forgive. The humans were gone. Their final lesson was complete. The galaxy was safe, and it was forever haunted by their silence.